Today, we're going to make one of the most useful Spanish past tense ideas feel simple and usable. Not perfect, just usable, and that's the goal. We're focusing on the practical difference between the preterite and the imperfect. In plain English, that means this. One tense tells you about the background, the ongoing situation, or what was happening, and the other tells you about the main event, the thing that happened and moved the story forward. Here's the big picture. Imperfect is the movie background. Preterite is the camera flash. Imperfect is the scene already in progress. It was late, it was raining, I was walking, people were talking. Preterite is the event. The phone rang, the bus arrived, I fell, she opened the door. So think of it like this. Imperfect paints the room. Preterite throws the ball through the window. Poor window, but great grammar. Let's hear that contrast right away. Caminaba a la tienda. I was walking to the store. That's imperfect. Caminaba, because it describes an action in progress. Then, empezó a llover. It started to rain. That's preterite, empezó, because it's the event that begins, the thing that changes the moment. How do you say, I was walking to the store in Spanish? Caminaba a la tienda. Caminaba a la tienda. How do you say, it started to rain in Spanish? Empezó a llover. Empezó a llover. Put them together. Caminaba a la tienda cuando empezó a llover. I was walking to the store when it started to rain. That one sentence gives you the whole idea. Caminaba is the background. Empezó is the event. A super practical memory trick. If you can imagine asking, what was going on? You often want the imperfect. If you can imagine asking, what happened next? You often want the preterite. What was going on? Caminaba, llovía, dormía, estudiaba. What happened next? Empezó, sonó, llegó, se apagó. Notice llover. In Spanish, llover means to rain. So llovía is it was raining, and llovió is it rained. Very handy weather verb. Another useful weather phrase is hacía sol. It was sunny. Literally, it made sun. Spanish likes to say the weather a little differently from English, and that's normal. Listen to this pair. Hacía sol. It was sunny. That's background. De repente llovió. Suddenly it rained. That's the event. How do you say it was sunny, but suddenly it rained in Spanish? Hacía sol, pero de repente llovió. Hacía sol, pero de repente llovió. Good. Now let's make the timeline feel even clearer. The word cuando, when, is your best friend here. Very often, you'll hear this pattern. Imperfect plus cuando plus preterite. In English, I was doing something when something happened. Dormía cuando sonó el teléfono. I was sleeping when the phone rang. How do you say, I was sleeping when the phone rang in Spanish? Dormía cuando sonó el teléfono. Dormía cuando sonó el teléfono. That sentence is gold. Keep it in your head. Dormía, ongoing. Sonó, event. Also, teléfono has the written accent on the E. Teléfono. Spanish stress matters, and the accent mark helps you pronunciation. Let's try another. Cenábamos cuando se apagaron las luces. We were eating dinner when the lights went out. Cenábamos is the background action already happening. Se apagaron is the sudden event. Literally, the lights turned themselves off. Spanish often uses se in these kinds of change of state moments. Don't overthink it now. Just notice the chunk. Se apagaron las luces. How do you say, we were eating dinner when the lights went out? Cenábamos cuando se apagaron las luces. Cenábamos cuando se apagaron las luces. Excellent. Now a tiny but useful detour. In Spanish, dinner as a verb is cenar. So cenábamos means we were having dinner. If you want to say we ate dinner, one completed event, that's cenamos. Hear the difference? Cenábamos, background or ongoing. Cenamos, completed event. Same idea, different lens. That's really what these two tenses are. Two lenses. Not two enemy teams. Not a grammar boxing match. Just two ways to look at the past. Imperfect says, let me describe the situation. Preterite says, let me tell you what happened. Here are some common patterns you'll hear all the time. Background plus interruption. Leía cuando entró mi amigo. I was reading when my friend came in. Repeated or habitual action in the past. De niño, jugaba al fútbol. As a child, I used to play soccer. That's imperfect because it's about a repeated past habit, not one single finished event. A finished event. Ayer jugué al fútbol. Yesterday I played soccer. That's preterite because yesterday points to one completed action. So another memory shortcut. Imperfect often feels like was doing, used to do, was, were. Preterite often feels like did, started, arrived, rang, opened, closed, fell. How do you say, I was reading when my friend arrived in Spanish? Leía cuando llegó mi amigo. Leía cuando llegó mi amigo. How do you say, as a child, I used to play soccer in Spanish? De niño, jugaba al fútbol. De niño, jugaba al fútbol. Now let's build a little instinct. I'll give you the English meaning first, and you listen for the timeline. I was studying. Estudiaba. Ongoing, in progress, no clear ending. I studied last night. Estudié anoche. Completed event. It was raining. Llovía. Background weather. It rained a lot yesterday. Llovió mucho ayer. One finished weather event. The door was open. La puerta estaba abierta. Description. The door opened. La puerta se abrió. Event. That last pair is useful. Estaba abierta means was open, a state. Se abrió means opened, the action. Same world, different camera angle. How do you say the door opened in Spanish? La puerta se abrió. La puerta se abrió. How do you say the door was open in Spanish? La puerta estaba abierta. La puerta estaba abierta. Nice. Now let's talk about a very common learner mistake. Many learners try to choose the tense by looking only at the verb itself, but the real key is the meaning in the sentence. For example, caminaba is not always somehow magically the imperfect because walking is slow, and llegó is not automatically preterite because arriving is fast. Speed is not the point. Timeline is the point. Compare these. Llegaba a casa cuando vi a Ana. I was arriving home when I saw Ana. Here, llegaba is in progress. Llegué a casa a las 8. I arrived home at 8. Here, llegué is a completed event. Same verb, different meaning, different lens. Another common mistake is using preterite for background descriptions. If you say era tarde, it was late, that's the scene. If you say fue tarde, that means something more like it was late in a completed, framed sense. And for beginners, it often sounds unnatural, where a description is needed. So when you are setting the scene, describing weather, time, feelings, or what was happening, imperfect is often your safe and natural choice. Let's hear a short story now. Just listen first. Ayer hacía sol y caminaba al parque. Llevaba una botella de agua y pensaba en mis vacaciones. De repente sonó mi teléfono. Era un amigo y necesitaba ayuda. Corrí a la estación y tomé el tren. Now again, one sentence at a time. Ayer hacía sol y caminaba al parque. Yesterday it was sunny and I was walking to the park. Llevaba una botella de agua y pensaba en mis vacaciones. I was carrying a bottle of water and thinking about my vacation. De repente sonó mi teléfono. Suddenly, my phone rang. Era un amigo y necesitaba ayuda. It was a friend and he needed help. Corrí a la estación y tomé el tren. I ran to the station and took the train. Did you hear the rhythm? Hacía, caminaba, llevaba, pensaba, era, necesitaba. That's the background, the ongoing scene, the description. Then sonó, corrí, tomé. Those are the events that push the story forward. One small side note. Llevaba comes from llevar, which often means to carry or to wear, depending on context. So llevaba una botella is I was carrying a bottle, but llevaba una chaqueta could mean I was wearing a jacket. Same verb, different common meanings. Let's do a few more natural moments. How do you say it was raining when the bus arrived in Spanish? Llovía cuando llegó el autobús. Llovía cuando llegó el autobús. How do you say I was making coffee when Maria called in Spanish? Preparaba café cuando María llamó. Preparaba café cuando María llamó. How do you say we were talking when the teacher entered in Spanish? Hablábamos cuando entró la profesora. Hablábamos cuando entró la profesora. Beautiful. You do not need to memorize a giant chart right now. You need to feel the contrast. If it helps, keep this tiny formula in your mind. Imperfect, the stage. Preterite, the action. Imperfect, the river flowing. Preterite, the rock that splashes into it. And yes, sometimes both are possible with different meanings. That's normal and more advanced. But at your level, this practical instinct will take you very far. Use imperfect for the background or what was happening, and use preterite for the event that happened. Let's recap with quick pairs. Caminaba cuando empezó a llover. I was walking when it started to rain. Dormía cuando sonó el teléfono. I was sleeping when the phone rang. Cenábamos cuando se apagaron las luces. We were eating dinner when the lights went out. Hacía sol, pero de repente llovió. It was sunny, but suddenly it rained. That's the heart of today's lesson. And honestly, if you can say and understand sentences like those, you are already using this contrast in a very real way. So here's your final mental picture. Imagine a story like a painting with a few bright dots. The painting is imperfect. The weather, the time, the ongoing actions, the mood. The bright dots are preterite. The ring, the fall, the arrival, the decision. You do not have to be perfect today. You just need to notice the difference a little more clearly than yesterday. And you probably already do. Keep listening for cuando, de repente, and those background descriptions. Your ear will get stronger fast. Great work today. Re-listen, repeat the key sentences out loud, and let the pattern become familiar. Poco a poco, little by little, this gets easier, and your Spanish is growing exactly the way it should. Step by step, story by story.